Well, let's bring in Joe Siracusa for some more analysis on the Ukraine crisis. He's an author and professor of security and diplomacy at Curtin University. He joins us now from Melbourne. Good to have you on the program, Professor. We know that for weeks, US and Western intelligence officials had been really quite accurately telegraphing Russia's potential moves on Ukraine. Now that we're into the fourth day of hostilities in Ukraine, what do you make of what's happening? Who's got the upper hand here?
Well, good morning. Look, nobody really has the upper hand, and my great fear is that this is slipping away from us. This so-called war, which is really Putin's land grab for parts of Ukraine, might easily slip into a European war, and that would slip into a war with the United States. And we have to be very careful here. There are a lot of pieces on the board. The Western states, that is the European Union and NATO, left Ukraine flying in the wind. I mean, they didn't do anything for them, really. They just tried to give them some encouragement. And now they're overreacting with the sanctions. The sanctions won't do anything except further alienate most of Russian society. So it's sort of like overkill. What we should be looking for right now is we should be doubling down on diplomacy. We should be looking for some kind of conference to set a ceasefire or an armistice, and then we should get into a major conference to settle this. I'm afraid that if President Zelensky stays too long and is captured, that will be the end of the resistance. I mean, he has to be very careful now because he represents the continuity of the state of Ukraine. So I'd like to see him go to a little safer place where he can become the government in exile if he has to. I mean, he's got to stay safe, otherwise this comes to a close. Now, Putin is probably isolated. That is probably a lot of people disagreeing with him. But, George Bush didn't need a lot of friends when he went into Iraq, and Lyndon Johnson didn't need a lot of friends when he went into Vietnam. These are decisions taken at the top, as a matter of fact. So I'm not looking forward to public opinion changing anybody's mind. The major calculation here by President Putin was he expected a great deal of confusion and defeatism on the ground. Now, that did not happen. That's why his troops have been delayed. It's only the fourth day. He's half the people arrayed on the borders haven't even been called in yet. And now he will win this if he has a ways to go. Now, I saw an analysis today that I believe in, and that is if this war goes on for 10 more days without some conclusive victories for Putin, he will be forced to the negotiating table. And that's what the West should be counting on right now. It should be helping Ukraine as much as possible to hang on for another 10 or 12 days so that Putin has no alternative except to go to a negotiating table.
Professor, there are conflicting views on exactly what Putin's endgame is. Some say that he wants regime change in Ukraine. Others say that he wants to ultimately seize Ukraine completely or turn it into a satellite state that's aligned with Russia. What do you think is his ultimate goal here?
Well, he spelled it out in his declaration. He wants the demilitarization and denazification of Ukraine, which is shorthand for he wants to destroy the military capability of Ukraine, and then he wants to decapitate, or he wants to destroy the political leadership there. And I'm talking about show trials and executions and all the rest of the things he learned as a good Bolshevik back in the day. So he wants the destruction of the leadership, and he wants to decimate the capability of Ukraine to fight back. He wants nothing less than the annihilation of modern Ukraine. And that's the interesting thing about this war. The idea that a great power could initiate a war of annihilation in the 21st century is brand new territory for everybody.
Professor Joe Siracusa, we'll have to leave it there, but it was really good to get your analysis. Thank you for that.
Thank you.